Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Today Journey. I am so happy that you are here with me today. Thank you for taking the time to join this episode. I know you could be doing many other things, but you chose to spend this time learning with me, and that is wonderful. In this podcast, we focus on simple and useful ideas. Ideas that can help you grow as a person, become stronger, and at the same time, improve your English. So, before we begin, take a deep breath, relax, and get ready to discover something new and helpful. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that everyone experiences at some point: why we keep making the same mistakes again and again. Have you ever thought to yourself, why did I do that again? Or, I thought I learned my lesson, but I still made the same mistake. If yes, you're not alone. Many people feel this way. I feel like this sometimes too. Making the same mistake over and over can happen at school, at work, in relationships, or even while learning English. It can be frustrating because we often don't understand why it happens, even when we really want to change. That is why today's topic is so important. If we can understand why we repeat mistakes, then we can also learn how to stop repeating them. Let's start by asking a simple question: why do mistakes matter? When we keep repeating mistakes, it can make us feel stuck. It may feel like we are not moving forward. Sometimes it slows down our growth and our progress. But mistakes are not just something to feel bad about. Mistakes are actually opportunities. When we learn from our mistakes, something amazing happens. We grow stronger, we become more confident, and we feel more in control of our life. So, in this episode, mistakes are not the enemy. They are tools that help us learn, improve, and move forward in life. In today's episode, we will focus on three main things. First, we will understand what a mistake really is. Second, we will talk about why we repeat the same mistakes. And third, we will learn how to stop repeating them and start making better choices. Along the way, I will share some common mistakes that English learners often make. These are mistakes that many people repeat, sometimes without even realizing it. But don't worry, I will also give clear and simple steps to break these habits so you can improve your English and your life at the same time. It is important to remember that mistakes are not something to be ashamed of. Everyone makes mistakes. Even the most successful people make mistakes. The difference is that they learn from them. When we learn from our mistakes, we start to understand ourselves better. We notice patterns in our behavior. We see why certain mistakes keep happening. And when we understand those patterns, we can make choices that lead to better results. For example, many English learners make the same mistakes in grammar, pronunciation, or vocabulary. They might know the rules but still use the wrong form, or they might forget new words even after learning them many times. This is normal. It does not mean you are bad at English. It means your brain is still practicing, still learning, and needs a clear method to improve. That is why in this episode, we will break down the process of recognizing mistakes, understanding them, and creating a plan to stop repeating them. By the end of this episode, you will have a clear understanding of your mistakes and practical steps to change your habits. You will also see how mistakes can actually help you grow stronger, become more confident, and take control of your learning. Remember, every mistake is a chance to improve. Every mistake is a lesson that can make your life better and your English stronger. So let's dive in, understand our mistakes, and start making choices that move us forward. Hello again. Before we dive into learning about mistakes, let's talk about how to use this podcast to improve faster. I will use simple words and short sentences so you can understand everything easily. Remember, this podcast is made especially for English learners. That means you can practice both listening and speaking while following along. Here's a tip. As you listen, try to repeat some keywords and sentences out loud with me. Speaking out loud is one of the best ways to improve your English. If you want, you can pause the episode and say the sentence again. Don't worry about making mistakes or being perfect. This is your time to practice, step by step, in a way that is comfortable for you. The most important thing is to keep practicing and keep trying. Now, let's focus on today's main topic: how to stop repeating the same mistakes. Are you ready to make a positive change in your life and your English learning? Let's start this journey together. Just by being here and listening, you are already doing a great job. You are taking the first step to understand what a mistake really is, and that is important. Before we can stop repeating mistakes, we need to know what a mistake really is. A mistake is something we do that is not correct or not what we wanted to do. Sometimes we act, speak, or decide, and later we realize it was not the best choice. That is a mistake. Mistakes can be small or big, but the truth is this: mistakes are a natural part of life. Everyone makes mistakes. Yes, everyone, even the most successful people in the world. Let me give you some simple examples to make this clear. Imagine you have homework, but you forget to bring it to school. That is a mistake. You did not want to forget, but it happened anyway. Or imagine you are speaking English and you say, "He go to school" instead of "he goes to school." That is a grammar mistake. Another example. You promise to call a friend, but you forget. That is a mistake too. Or maybe you touch a hot pan without thinking and burn your hand. That is also a mistake because you were not careful. Do you see the pattern? Mistakes happen everywhere, at school, at work, in daily life, and even when learning English. Mistakes are normal. They are part of being human. Sometimes a mistake is very small, like saying the wrong word in a sentence. Other times it can be bigger, like forgetting an important task. Either way, mistakes are opportunities to learn something new. For example, in English learning, mistakes often happen when we use the wrong word, forget grammar rules, or mispronounce a word. This is completely normal. The key is not to feel bad or give up. Instead, we can look at mistakes carefully, understand why they happened, and practice correcting them. Mistakes are not failures. They are lessons. Every time we make a mistake and learn from it, we get stronger, smarter, and more confident. So today, start thinking about mistakes in a new way. Mistakes are not something to fear. They are part of learning and growing. If we pay attention to our mistakes, we can understand ourselves better, notice patterns, and slowly start to make better choices. Every small mistake is a chance to improve your English, improve your life, and move a little closer to your goals. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to practice, learn, and grow step by step. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear idea of what mistakes are, why we repeat them, and what steps we can take to stop repeating them. This will help you in learning English, making decisions, and living a better life. Mistakes are simply stepping stones to success. Sometimes, we make mistakes without even meaning to. For example, maybe your words sound a little rude, but you did not mean to hurt anyone. That is still a mistake. As you can see, a mistake is just something we do wrong, usually without intending to do it. The important thing to remember is that mistakes are not bad. They are not a sign that you are weak, and they are not proof that you are not smart. In fact, mistakes are a natural and necessary part of learning and growing. Think about how we learn new skills, like riding a bicycle. Did you get it perfect on the first try? Of course not. You probably fell down once, twice, maybe 5 or 10 times. That is completely okay. Falling is part of the learning process. Every time you fell, your body learned something new about balance and coordination. You got up, tried again, and slowly, step by step, you learned how to ride the bike. The same idea applies to learning English and to life in general. When you make a mistake, it does not mean you are a failure. It only means that you are trying something new, that you are learning, and that you are moving forward. Mistakes are signals. They tell us what does not work and guide us to find what does work. Every mistake is like a small lesson. Each one brings you closer to understanding and improvement. All successful people have made many mistakes. The difference is that they did not stop trying. They used each mistake as a chance to learn and grow. Over time, this made them stronger, smarter, and more skilled. Mistakes are part of everyone's journey, no matter who they are. It is also important to remember this. Everyone makes mistakes. It does not matter how smart, talented, or rich someone is. Your teacher makes mistakes. Your boss makes mistakes. Your parents make mistakes. Famous people on TV make mistakes. Even world-class athletes make mistakes. Sometimes, we think we are the only ones who keep messing up. We might say, "Why do I always do this wrong?" Or, "Why can't I get it right?" But trust me, you are not alone. Even people who seem perfect on the outside have made hundreds or even thousands of mistakes in their lives. Mistakes are not shameful. They are not something to feel guilty about. They are part of learning and growing. It is okay to make mistakes. You do not need to feel embarrassed or bad about them. Instead, try to see each mistake as an opportunity. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I do better next time? This simple change in thinking can make a huge difference. Remember, mistakes are natural. They are normal. They are proof that you are learning and moving forward. The goal is not to be perfect. It is to keep trying, keep learning, and keep growing. Each mistake you make is a step toward improvement, not a step backward. Every time you learn from a mistake, you become stronger, wiser, and more confident. So, the next time you make a mistake, smile and say, "This is a chance to learn something new." That is how progress happens. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are your teachers. They show you where to improve and how to become better. By understanding and accepting mistakes, you can stop worrying, start learning, and grow in both life and English. When it comes to mistakes, remember this: it is not the mistake itself that matters. What really matters is what you do after the mistake. Do you take the time to learn from it? Do you try again? Do you make small changes the next time? That is what truly counts. Mistakes are not failures. They are opportunities to improve and grow. Let's look at an example from learning English. Imagine you are practicing English and often forget to use the past tense. You might say, "Yesterday I go to the market," instead of, "Yesterday I went to the market." At first, if someone corrects you, you might feel embarrassed or frustrated. But don't worry, that mistake is actually a learning moment. Each time you make this kind of mistake, your brain gets a signal. "Hey, pay attention here. This is something to improve." The next time, you might remember to say when instead of go, and that is progress. Every mistake is like a small teacher giving you a message. Here is where you can get better. Sometimes, though, we feel upset because we keep repeating the same mistake. Maybe you arrive late to school or work even though you promised to be on time. Or perhaps you forget to study English even though you said you would practice every day. In these moments, it is natural to feel frustrated or even angry at yourself. You might think, "Why can't I stop doing this?" Or, "Why do I keep failing?" But here's the truth. This is completely normal. Many people struggle with repeating mistakes. It does not mean you are lazy or hopeless. It simply means that you have not yet found the right method to change your habits. That is exactly what we are exploring in this episode: how to break these patterns and learn effectively. One of the most important things to do when you make mistakes is to be kind to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself. Treat yourself with the same patience and understanding you would offer a friend. When you make a mistake, try saying, "That's okay. I can try again. I can do better next time." Speaking to yourself with kindness keeps your mind open. It allows you to learn faster, feel more confident, and stay motivated. On the other hand, if you say things like, "I'm stupid. I always fail," your mind will close. Negative self-talk makes it harder to learn. It lowers your confidence and slows down your progress. Being critical and harsh does not help. You need to be supportive of yourself. Every time you make a mistake, remind yourself that this is part of the process. Mistakes are lessons, not proof that you are failing. Think of it like this. Every time you make a mistake, you are practicing and improving, just like when learning to ride a bike or learning a new skill. Every error gives you information about what to do differently next time. When you repeat a mistake, don't panic. Look at it calmly and ask, "What can I change to get better?" That's how progress happens. Being patient, kind, and positive with yourself makes a huge difference. You can take small steps to improve without feeling overwhelmed. Mistakes are natural. They happen to everyone. The goal is not perfection. It is consistent effort, learning, and growth. Each mistake you make is a step closer to success. By understanding, learning, and acting on your mistakes, you can build confidence, improve your English, and feel proud of your progress. So, the next time you make a mistake, smile and remember, this is your chance to learn, grow, and become better. Mistakes are not setbacks. They are stepping stones to improvement. The way you respond to mistakes is what truly matters. Mistakes are not obstacles. They are signs on our journey. Think of mistakes like small road signs on a path. Each one shows us where we are weak, but also where we have the chance to grow stronger. Instead of hiding from mistakes or feeling bad about them, we can look at them carefully. Mistakes are not our enemies. They are guides that help us learn and improve. So, what should we do with mistakes? The answer is simple. We should learn from them. We should talk about them, think about them, and use them as lessons. That is how we grow, not just as English learners but as people. Let's quickly summarize what we know so far. A mistake is something we do wrong, usually without meaning to. Mistakes happen to everyone, and they're a natural part of learning. You don't need to feel guilty or ashamed about making a mistake. Instead, you can see mistakes as tools that help you learn, grow, and become stronger. The good news is this: the more you understand your mistakes, the easier it becomes to change and improve. Now, let's move to a very important question. Why do we keep repeating the same mistakes again and again? Sometimes you already know what your mistake is. You can even see it clearly, but you still do it again. Why does this happen? What stops us from changing? This is what we are going to explore in this part of the episode. Making a mistake once is normal. Everyone does that. But making the same mistake many times usually means that something deeper is happening inside us. Let's look at 3 common reasons why people repeat the same mistakes. Reason 1. We don't learn from the past. This is simple but very common. Many times, we make a mistake, but we do not take the time to think about it carefully. We just move on and forget it. We don't ask ourselves important questions like, why did this happen? Or, what can I do differently next time? Because we don't reflect on the mistake, we are more likely to do the same thing again. Here's an example. Imagine you forgot to turn in your homework one day. You felt bad about it, but you did not think about why it happened. You just moved on to the next day and forgot again. That is a mistake repeating itself. If you stop and think, you might realize, I need to put my homework in my bag the night before. That way I won't forget it. Reflection is the first step toward breaking the cycle of repeating mistakes. Mistakes are not failures, they are clues. They tell us where we can improve. By reflecting on a mistake and asking the right questions, you can understand why it happened and take action to avoid it next time. Reflection turns mistakes into learning tools, and that is what makes change possible. So, remember this. Making mistakes is normal, repeating mistakes happens to everyone, and understanding your mistakes is the key to growth. Mistakes are like signposts. They show us the way, if we are willing to look, learn, and act. Let's continue exploring why we repeat the same mistakes. Sometimes, even when we know what went wrong, we do not change our actions, and the mistake happens again. Imagine this. You always forget to study for your English test until the last minute. You feel stressed, don't sleep well, and then don't do very well on the test. Afterward, you tell yourself, next time I will start earlier. But when the next test comes, the same thing happens, you forget again. Why does this happen? The reason is simple. You never stop to understand what happened last time. Maybe you spent too much time watching TV. Maybe you didn't have a study plan. Maybe you forgot to write the test date in your calendar. You didn't change your habits, so the same mistake repeated itself. The lesson here is clear. If we don't learn from mistakes, we are likely to repeat them. To stop repeating mistakes, we need to slow down, reflect, and ask questions about our actions. The second reason people repeat mistakes is that we often act without thinking. This happens all the time in daily life. Sometimes we are in a hurry. Sometimes we are tired. Sometimes we are emotional, angry, sad, or stressed. In these moments, we do things without really thinking about the results. Later, we realize, oh no, I made the same mistake again. Here is an example. Maybe you always say yes to people even when you're very busy. A friend asks for help, your boss asks for extra work, or someone invites you to go somewhere. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, so you say yes. But afterward, you feel tired, stressed, or even angry. You ask yourself, why did I say yes again? The answer is simple. You didn't pause to think before acting. Acting without thinking is common, but it can be changed. So, how can we fix this? The solution is simple. Pause. Just a small pause. Before you answer, take a deep breath and ask yourself, do I really have time for this? Is this the right choice for me right now? Sometimes, even a 2-second pause can prevent a big mistake. Small pauses help us make better decisions, protect our energy, and avoid unnecessary stress. The third reason we repeat mistakes is very powerful. We are afraid of change. Change is hard for everyone. Even when we know a mistake caused problems, our brain sometimes prefers the comfortable, familiar pattern instead of trying something new. Change takes effort, and our mind often resists it. For example, even if you know studying every day would help you improve your English, you might avoid it because it feels uncomfortable or tiring. The same applies to habits, relationships, and daily routines. This fear of change can keep us repeating mistakes for a long time. But the good news is this. Once we recognize the fear, we can work with it. We can start small, make gradual changes, and give ourselves permission to try new approaches without expecting perfection. Change is possible, but it requires awareness and practice. So, to summarize so far, mistakes are not failures. They are lessons. We repeat mistakes for 3 main reasons. We don't learn from the past, we act without thinking, and we are afraid of change. The first step to improvement is to notice these patterns, reflect on them, and begin making small changes. Every time we pause, reflect, and try again, we are moving closer to breaking the cycle of repeating mistakes. Mistakes are not the end. They are road signs that guide us forward. They show us where we can improve, what habits we can change, and how we can grow. By learning from mistakes and taking small, thoughtful steps, we can slowly stop repeating them and start making better choices in English, in school, at work, and in life. Change is not easy. Even when something is not good for us, we sometimes keep doing it because it feels safe and familiar. Our mind tells us, stay here. Don't try something new. It's risky. This is normal, but it also stops us from growing. Here's an example. Imagine you are learning English and you are afraid to speak in class. Even when you know the answer or want to say something, you stay quiet. After class, you feel bad. You think, I should have spoken. But the next day, the same thing happens. You stay silent again.
Why?
Because your fear of change, the fear of making a mistake in front of others, is stronger than your desire to try. Many people repeat mistakes because they choose comfort over change. Comfort feels safe, but it does not help us grow. Change feels uncomfortable at first, but it is the path to improvement. Growth only happens when we step out of our comfort zone, even a little at a time. For example, speaking out loud in class may feel scary. Saying no when someone asks for help may feel uncomfortable. Trying something new, like joining a gym or talking to a stranger, may feel difficult at first. But each time we take a small step, we grow stronger. Each time we face our fear, it becomes a little smaller. Step by step, we become more confident, more skilled, and more capable. To summarize what we know about repeating mistakes so far, we often repeat mistakes because we don't learn from the past. We make the same mistake again because we haven't reflected on it and asked ourselves, why did this happen? Or, what can I do differently next time? We act too quickly without thinking. We say yes when we are too busy, rush through tasks, or make decisions in moments of stress or emotion. Pausing and reflecting can prevent this. We are afraid of change. Comfort feels safe, but it keeps us stuck. Growth happens when we try something new, even if it feels uncomfortable. The good news is that we can do something about all of these. Understanding why we repeat mistakes is the first step toward stopping them. Change may feel scary, but it leads to growth. Every time you try, you learn. Every time you face a fear, it becomes smaller. Every small effort moves you forward. There is also a fourth reason why people repeat mistakes: lack of self-awareness. This is a little different from the other reasons. Lack of self-awareness means we don't fully understand our own thoughts, feelings, or actions. Sometimes, we don't notice that we are repeating a mistake until it has happened many times. We may not realize why we act a certain way or what triggers the behavior. Without self-awareness, it is hard to make changes, even when we want to. Self-awareness is about paying attention to yourself, noticing your habits, and asking questions like, why did I do that? Or, what could I do differently? The more self-aware we become, the easier it is to break habits, stop repeating mistakes, and make better choices. So far, we have covered 4 big reasons why people repeat mistakes. Not learning from the past, acting without thinking, fear of change, lack of self-awareness. The good news is that all of these can be improved by reflecting, pausing before acting, facing our fears step by step, and becoming more aware of ourselves. We can start breaking the cycle of repeating mistakes. Mistakes are not failures. They are teachers on our journey of growth. Sometimes we don't fully notice what we are doing. We are not always aware of our habits. Maybe you don't realize how often you interrupt people during conversations. Maybe you complain without noticing it. Maybe you make the same grammar mistakes in English over and over. Or maybe you are always late to work and tell yourself, it's just traffic, without realizing that you actually leave the house too late every day. Do you see the pattern? Sometimes other people can notice our mistakes before we do. And when we are not aware of our actions, it is very hard to change them. That is why it is so important to pay attention to how we speak, how we act, and how we respond to situations. When we become more aware, it is like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, we can see our habits clearly. And when we see them, we can start to break the cycle of repeating the same mistakes. Let's take a moment to review what we have learned so far. Repetition is a natural part of learning, and it also explains why mistakes repeat. People often repeat mistakes for 4 main reasons. We don't learn from the past. We ignore the lessons of our previous actions and move on without reflection. We act without thinking. We make decisions too quickly, let emotions control us, or react in the moment without considering the consequences. We fear change. Even when a habit is not helpful, it feels safe and familiar. Trying something new can feel uncomfortable, so we stay in our old ways. We lack self-awareness. We don't notice our actions or habits until someone points them out. Without awareness, change is very difficult. Now it is your turn. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Think about one mistake you repeat often. It could be something related to your English learning, like not practicing speaking enough. Or it could be something in your daily life, like going to bed too late, arriving late to school or work, or forgetting important tasks. Once you identify one mistake, ask yourself these questions. Why do I do this again and again? Is it because I never really learned from it? Is it because I didn't stop to think before acting? Is it because I fear trying something new or leaving my comfort zone? Or is it because I never noticed this habit until now? It's important to remember it is okay to make mistakes. The key is to understand them. When we reflect on our mistakes, we start to see the patterns in our behavior. Reflection gives us the power to change. Without reflection, habits continue without awareness. Think about your day-to-day actions. Maybe you realize that you often leave tasks to the last minute. Maybe you notice that you interrupt others without meaning to. Maybe you see that you forget to practice English speaking regularly. Once you notice it clearly, you can begin to take small steps to change. Small changes are the key to long-term improvement. Reflection is the first step toward breaking the cycle. When you identify one repeated mistake, understand why it happens, and think of one small action to improve, you are already moving forward. Every small effort counts. Remember, mistakes are not signs of failure. They are teachers showing you where to grow. By being aware of your actions, reflecting honestly, and taking small steps to improve, you stop repeating mistakes and start creating better habits. Mistakes guide us. They show us what does not work, what we can improve, and how we can grow. Awareness turns mistakes from obstacles into tools for learning and growth. It's okay if you connect with one of these reasons, or even more than one. All of these reasons are part of being human. Everyone experiences them. The good news is this: once we understand the reason behind our mistakes, we can take the first step toward change. Knowing why we repeat mistakes is the start of doing something different. Awareness is the first step on the path to improvement. Now comes the exciting part: how to stop repeating mistakes. Yes, it is possible. You can break the cycle and start making better choices. In the next part, I will share easy steps you can follow. These steps will help you not only in learning English, but also in your daily life, school, work, and relationships. Keep listening, because every word you hear is bringing you closer to becoming a better, stronger version of yourself. Before we jump into the solutions, it's important to understand how repeating the same mistakes affects your life. Sometimes we think, it's just a small mistake. It's not a big deal. And yes, sometimes that is true. But when we keep making the same mistake over and over, it starts to change things. It can affect how we feel about ourselves, how we interact with others, and even how we learn and grow. For example, if you repeat the same mistake many times, you might start to feel frustrated. You might feel stuck, like you are not moving forward. You may even lose confidence in yourself. When that happens, mistakes don't just stay as small errors. They start to affect your self-esteem, your mood, and your progress. The repeated pattern can make it harder to take risks, try new things, or trust your own decisions. When we keep repeating mistakes, they touch many parts of our lives. They affect our feelings. We may feel sad, angry, or disappointed in ourselves. They affect our confidence. We may feel unsure of our abilities. They affect our relationships. Friends, family, or coworkers may notice our repeated behavior, which can cause tension. And they affect our learning, whether it's learning English or another skill. Repeated mistakes without reflection slow down progress. Here's an example. Imagine you keep forgetting to study for a test. At first, it may seem small. One missed study session might not matter. But if it happens every week, soon you feel stressed, frustrated, and unprepared. Your confidence drops. You may even start thinking, I'm not good at this. I can't do it. The mistake has now affected not only your learning but also your self-esteem and how you feel about trying again. Another example is in relationships. Maybe you often say things without thinking, interrupting people or reacting emotionally. At first, it might seem minor, but over time, it can create misunderstandings, arguments, and distance between you and the people you care about. Repeating mistakes without awareness can slowly change the way people see you and the way you feel about yourself. So, the truth is this: repeating mistakes is not harmless. Small mistakes can grow bigger over time if we don't notice them and take action. But here's the empowering part. Once we understand how mistakes affect our life, we can take steps to stop repeating them. Awareness leads to action, and action leads to change. By learning why mistakes happen, reflecting on them, and making small adjustments, we can protect our confidence, relationships, and progress, and start moving forward in a positive way. Remember, mistakes are not enemies, they are teachers. The more we understand them, the easier it is to learn, grow, and make better choices. Every step you take to notice a mistake, understand it, and change it is a step toward a stronger, more confident you. Repeating mistakes does more than just annoy us. It affects many parts of our lives. The first place it shows up is how we feel about ourselves. Think about this. You keep repeating the same mistake, and after a while, you may start asking yourself, why can't I stop doing this? That frustration can slowly turn into self-doubt. Self-doubt is when you question your own abilities. You may start thinking, I'm not strong enough to change, or I'm not smart enough to get better. Over time, these thoughts can slowly hurt your confidence. Confidence is the belief that you can do things, that you are capable, and that you can improve. But if your confidence goes down, you may stop trying. You might find yourself thinking, I always do this wrong. Maybe I'm just not good enough. These thoughts are not true, but they can feel real if you keep repeating the same mistakes without seeing progress. The second way repeated mistakes affect life is relationships. Mistakes can change how others see you and how much they trust you. Imagine this. You often make promises, but you don't keep them. You tell your friend, I'll meet you at 5, but you arrive late again. You say, I'll call you tomorrow, but you forget. At first, your friend might forgive you and say, it's okay. But if this happens repeatedly, they may start to feel hurt. They may lose trust in you and think, maybe you don't respect my time. Maybe you don't really care about my feelings. The same happens in many other relationships. Mistakes in communication, like speaking without listening or reacting with anger, can damage connections with family, friends, or coworkers. When mistakes are repeated, they can slowly weaken trust, and trust is the heart of every relationship. Without trust, relationships can feel fragile or distant. The third area affected by repeated mistakes is learning and personal growth. Mistakes slow us down if we don't reflect and correct them. Let's take learning English as an example. Imagine you want to improve your speaking. Every day you tell yourself, I will practice today, but you skip it. At first, missing one day might not seem important, but over time, those missed days add up. Your speaking does not improve as fast as you hoped. You may feel frustrated and think, why am I not getting better? This is because repeating the same mistake, skipping practice, affects your learning progress. The same idea applies to other skills or habits. Maybe you want to eat healthier, but keep choosing fast food. Maybe you want to save money, but keep spending without planning. Every repeated mistake slows down your growth and progress. The important point is that mistakes are not just small problems. They can affect your feelings, relationships, and progress over time. The good news is this: awareness and action can stop this cycle. Once you notice a repeated mistake, understand why it happens, and take small steps to correct it, you can protect your confidence, trust in relationships, and personal growth. Every mistake has a lesson hidden inside. When you learn from it and make changes, mistakes become tools for improvement instead of obstacles. So remember, repeated mistakes affect 3 main areas of life: your feelings and confidence, your relationships, and your learning and growth. The sooner you notice the pattern and act, the sooner you can break the cycle, regain confidence, rebuild trust, and grow stronger every day. Sometimes we say to ourselves, I will practice later, but later never comes. Or we tell ourselves, tomorrow I'll speak in class, but when tomorrow comes, we stay quiet again. This can happen over and over. What happens then? You don't improve. Not because you can't improve, but because the same old habit keeps stopping you. Repeating the same mistake slows down learning. It keeps you in the same place. Over time, this can make you feel stuck, frustrated, or even unmotivated. Some people even give up completely, not because they are not capable, but because the habit blocks their progress. Let me share a short story to make this clearer. There was a student named Ian. Ian really wanted to improve his English speaking skills. He joined an English class, and at first he felt excited and hopeful. But he had one problem. He was afraid to speak in front of others. Every time the teacher asked a question, Ian stayed silent. He thought, what if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? After class, he would always tell himself, next time I will try. But when the next class came, the same thing happened. He stayed quiet again. Days turned into weeks, and Ian was still not speaking. One day, his teacher noticed and said kindly, Ian, I can see that you want to speak, but something is stopping you. Do you know what it is? Ian admitted, I don't want to make a mistake. The teacher smiled and said something very important. But Ian, by not speaking, you are making a bigger mistake. You are not learning. That moment changed something inside Ian. He realized that his fear of making mistakes was actually his biggest mistake. His silence was keeping him stuck. The very next day, Ian raised his hand and answered a question, even though his English was not perfect. And do you know what happened? The class clapped for him. That small step gave him courage. From that day on, Ian began to grow. This story shows us two important lessons. First, fear of mistakes can hold us back more than mistakes themselves. Sometimes, the habit of avoiding action or trying something new is a bigger barrier than the errors we make. Second, small steps lead to progress. Ian didn't suddenly become perfect in English. He started with one small action, raising his hand and speaking. That action gave him courage, and over time, his confidence grew. This is true for learning English, school, work, or even daily life habits. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, or avoid trying because you might make a mistake, you are actually repeating a mistake. The mistake of not taking action. Every time you avoid action, you slow your progress. But every small step, even if imperfect, moves you forward. So, the lesson is clear. Mistakes themselves are not the enemy. Avoiding action out of fear is the bigger mistake. Courage is taking a step, even if it is not perfect. Confidence grows step by step, and growth happens when we act despite fear. Just like Ian, you can start small, learn from each action, and gradually break the cycle of repeated mistakes. Remember, progress is not about being perfect. It's about moving forward one small step at a time. Each step builds confidence, reduces fear, and makes learning and personal growth easier and more natural. Now, let's focus on something very important. One repeated mistake, like staying silent because of fear, can block your progress. But one small action, like speaking up just once, can break the cycle and start growth. Small steps matter more than you might think. Every journey forward starts with a single small action. It's time for a little reflection. I want you to think about your own life. Can you find a mistake that you repeat again and again? Maybe you often forget important things. Maybe you speak before thinking and say something you regret. Maybe you wait until the last minute to do your work. Maybe you tell yourself, I will study today, but you never actually start. Whatever your mistake is, pause and think about it. Ask yourself, why do I do this again and again? The moment you start asking this question, you are already opening the door to change. Think carefully. What is one mistake that keeps coming back into your life? Is it forgetting things? Is it waiting until the last minute? Is it avoiding speaking English because you feel nervous? Understanding why it keeps happening is the first step towards stopping it. Now, ask yourself another question. How is this mistake affecting my life? Does it make you lose confidence? Does it hurt your relationships with others? Does it stop your learning or progress? These are important questions. They help you see the bigger picture. When you see clearly how a mistake affects your life, you can begin to make better choices. It's very important to remember this. The goal of reflection is not to make you feel bad. It is not to make you think that you are weak or that you cannot change. The goal is simply to help you see the truth clearly. Because when you see the truth, you can take steps to do things differently. And here's something I want to say clearly. You are not your mistakes. Let me repeat that. You are not your mistakes. You are a person who can learn, grow, and change. Your mistakes are just signals, showing you what needs attention. They are teachers, not labels. Starting today, you can choose to move forward. Now, we're going to talk about something very exciting: how to stop repeating the same mistakes. Yes, it is possible. It takes time. It takes small steps, but it is absolutely possible. Change does not happen instantly, and that's okay. What matters is starting and taking the first step. I will give you a simple plan with 5 steps. Each step is clear and easy to follow. These steps are not only for learning English, but they are also for life in general. They help you stop old habits, make better choices, and grow as a person. Each step builds on the last, helping you gain confidence, courage, and control over your actions. The first step is awareness, seeing the mistake clearly and understanding why it happens. The second step is reflection, thinking about how the mistake affects your life. The third step is small action, taking one simple step to do something differently. The fourth step is consistency, practicing the new action every day. And the fifth step is kindness toward yourself, being patient and gentle while learning and changing. If you follow these 5 steps, over time you will notice real progress. You will feel more confident, make better choices, and see that mistakes no longer control you. Growth is possible for everyone, including you. Every small step, every action, and every reflection adds up to real change. Remember, the journey is slow but steady. Small steps lead to big changes. Every action counts. You are capable of breaking the cycle of repeated mistakes and starting a new chapter in your life. Now we are ready for the most exciting part: how to stop repeating mistakes. We will follow 5 simple steps. Each step is easy to understand and take action on. And the best part is that while you follow these steps, you can also practice your English speaking. I will ask you to repeat some sentences out loud. This way, you are learning for life and improving your English at the same time. Let's begin. Step 1. Notice the mistake. The very first step is awareness. You must notice the mistake. Many times, we keep repeating the same mistake simply because we don't realize we are doing it. So, stop and look carefully at your actions. Ask yourself, what is something I keep doing that causes problems for me? Maybe you always forget your homework. Maybe you always start studying too late. Maybe you avoid speaking English in class. These are not accidents. They are habits. And habits grow stronger when we ignore them. That's why the first step is so powerful. Say to yourself, I see my mistake. Let's say it together. I see my mistake. I see my mistake. Great. Noticing the mistake is the first step toward change. Without awareness, change is impossible. Step 2. Ask yourself why it happened. The second step is to ask yourself a deeper question. Why did I make this mistake? Don't stop at, oh no, I messed up again. Go one step further. Look for the reason behind the mistake. For example, maybe you always forget your homework because you don't plan your time well. Maybe you avoid speaking in English class because you are afraid of making mistakes. Maybe you are always late because you leave your house too late, not because of traffic. When you find the reason, you begin to understand yourself better. Understanding yourself helps you prepare for next time. Once you know why a mistake happens, you can make a plan to avoid it. Say it with me. I ask myself why the mistake happened. I ask myself why the mistake happened. Excellent. When you ask why, you shine a light on your habits. You see patterns and can start making smarter choices. Step 3. Make a small plan. After you know why the mistake happens, the next step is to make a small plan. This plan should be simple and practical. For example, if you forget homework, plan to write it in your notebook every day. If you avoid speaking English, plan to say one sentence in class each day. If you are always late, plan to leave 5 minutes earlier. Small steps are easier to follow than big changes. Say it out loud. I make a small plan to change my habit. I make a small plan to change my habit. Good. Every small step adds up over time. Step 4. Take action. The fourth step is action. You must do your plan. Even if it feels difficult, just take one small step. Every action counts. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to try. Mistakes may happen again, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep moving forward. Say it. I take action. I take action. Perfect. Action is where change really starts. Step 5. Be kind to yourself. The fifth and final step is to be kind to yourself. Changing habits is not easy. You will make mistakes. Don't be hard on yourself. Instead, say, it's okay. I am learning. I can try again. Kindness and patience will help your mind stay open and make learning faster and easier. Say it with me. I am kind to myself. I am kind to myself. Excellent. When you follow these 5 steps, notice, ask why, make a plan, take action, and be kind to yourself, you can break the cycle of repeated mistakes. You will see progress in your life, your learning, and your confidence. Every small step moves you closer to the person you want to become. Now, let's move to step 3. Write it down. This step is simple, but it is very powerful. Writing your mistakes helps your brain understand them better. It also makes your thinking clearer. Take a notebook, a piece of paper, or even your phone. Write just 1 or 2 sentences about the mistake and why it happened. For example, you might write, I didn't speak English today because I was nervous. Or, I was late again because I left home too late. When you write your mistake down, it becomes real. It is no longer just a thought in your head. Now you can see it clearly. And when you can see it, you can start to change it. Writing is like a mirror for your mind. It shows you the truth so you can grow and improve. Let's practice together. Repeat after me. I write down my mistakes to learn from them. I write down my mistakes to learn from them. Very good. Now take a moment to think about your life. What is one mistake that keeps coming back? Maybe it is forgetting things, waiting until the last minute, avoiding speaking English, or something else. Ask yourself, why does this happen again and again? How does it affect your confidence, your relationships, or your learning? Remember, the goal of this reflection is not to make you feel bad. You are not your mistakes. You are a person who can learn, grow, and change starting today. Writing down your mistakes helps you see the truth. And seeing the truth is the first step to making better choices. Now let's talk about how to stop repeating the same mistakes. Yes, it is possible. It will not happen in one day, but with small, steady steps, you can break the cycle. Each step moves you closer to the person you want to become. Step 1, which we learned earlier, is noticing the mistake. Step 2 is asking why it happened. Step 3 is writing it down. Step 4, which we will talk about next, is making a small plan. Step 5 is taking action, and the final step is being kind to yourself. Each step is simple, but if you follow them one by one, you'll start to see change. Think about a student named Ian. He wanted to speak English better, but he was too afraid to talk in class. Every time the teacher asked a question, he stayed silent. Ian thought, what if I make a mistake? What if people laugh at me? Days passed, and he kept repeating the same mistake. Then his teacher noticed and said, Ian, by not speaking, you are making a bigger mistake. You are not learning. That moment changed everything for Ian. He realized his fear was blocking his growth. The next day, he spoke up. His classmates clapped, and that small step gave him courage. From that day, Ian began to improve. The lesson from Ian's story is clear. One repeated mistake, like staying silent out of fear, can block your progress. But one small action, like speaking up once, can break the cycle and start growth. Now it's your turn. Think about a mistake you keep repeating. Maybe you forget things, wait until the last minute, or avoid speaking English. Ask yourself, why does this happen again and again? How is it affecting my life? The moment you start asking these questions, you open the door to change. You are not your mistakes. You are a person who can grow, improve, and succeed starting today. Take a deep breath. You're doing a great job just by listening and thinking. Keep going. Keep learning. And remember, Small steps every day lead to big change. Now, we will learn how to stop repeating mistakes. The best news is that it is possible. You can learn from your past and change your future. We will use 5 simple steps. Each step is easy, and I will give examples. You can also say some sentences out loud to practice your English. Step 1. Notice the mistake. The first step is awareness. You must see what is happening. Many times, we repeat mistakes simply because we don't realize we are doing them. So, stop for a moment and look closely at your actions. Ask yourself, what do I keep doing that causes problems for me? Examples. You forget to do your homework. You start studying too late. You avoid speaking English in class. These are not accidents, they're habits. And habits become stronger when we don't notice them. That's why noticing is the first step toward change. Say this with me. I see my mistake. I see my mistake. Very good. Noticing is the beginning of change. Step 2. Ask yourself why it happened. The second step is to go deeper. Don't just think, I messed up again. Ask yourself, why did I do that? Examples. You forget your homework because you didn't plan your time well. You stay quiet in class because you are afraid of making mistakes. You arrive late because you leave your house too late, not because of traffic. When you find the reason, you understand yourself better. And when you understand yourself, you can prepare for next time. Say this with me. I ask myself why the mistake happened. I ask myself why the mistake happened. Excellent. Asking why helps you find the root of the problem. Step 3. Write it down. The third step is simple, but very powerful. Write your mistake and the reason in a notebook or on paper. Just 1 or 2 sentences are enough. Writing helps your brain understand, remember, and focus. Examples you can write. I didn't speak English today. Why? Because I was nervous. I was late again. Why? Because I left home too late. When you write your mistake, it becomes real. You can see it clearly, and when you see it, you can change it. Say this with me. I write down my mistake and the reason. I write down my mistake and the reason. Perfect. Writing is a strong learning tool. It helps you think clearly and grow. Step 4. Make a small plan to change. The fourth step is planning. Don't try to change everything at once. That is too hard and can make you frustrated. Instead, choose one small action that you can do to improve. Examples. If you always forget homework, your small plan could be, I will pack my homework bag every night. If you avoid speaking English, your small plan could be, I will answer at least 1 question in class tomorrow. If you are late, your plan could be, I will set my alarm 15 minutes earlier. Small steps are better than no steps. Every small step builds confidence and helps you move forward. This section prepares the learner to take control of their habits. By noticing, understanding, writing, and planning, you break the cycle of repeated mistakes. Each step is simple, and if you follow them one by one, you'll start to see real progress in life and English learning. Step 4. Make a small plan to change. Now that you understand your mistake and why it happens, it is time to make a small plan. Don't try to change everything at once. That is too hard. Instead, choose one small action you can do to improve. Small steps are easier, and they lead to big changes. Examples. If you forget your homework, say, I will pack my school bag the night before. If you don't practice English, say, I will speak English for 5 minutes every morning. If you are late, say, I will set my alarm 10 minutes earlier and leave when it rings. If you forget tasks, say, I will write a 3-item to-do list each evening. Repeat after me. I make a small plan to change. I make a small plan to change. Perfect. Keep your plan simple and clear. A small plan is much easier to follow than a big plan. Every small step helps you move forward. Step 5. Practice new habits slowly. The 5th and final step is practice. Change takes time. You may not succeed at first, and that is okay. The key is to keep trying and practicing little by little. Examples. Want to speak more English? Say one sentence today, then 2 sentences tomorrow. Want to manage your time better? Try a short to-do list each day. Want to read more? Start with 1 page a day, then 2 pages. Habits grow with daily practice. Repeat after me. I practice my new habit every day. I practice my new habit every day. Excellent. Change is not fast, but it is possible if you keep going. Quick review of the 5 steps. Let's remember the steps. They are simple but powerful. You can use them in school, at work, learning English, or daily life. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep trying. Notice the mistake. Say, I see my mistake. Ask why it happened. Say, I ask myself why the mistake happened. Write it down. Say, I write down my mistake and the reason. Make a small plan. Say, I make a small plan to change. Practice slowly. Say, I practice my new habit every day. Remember, 1 mistake does not mean failure. Even 10 mistakes do not mean failure. Life is about learning, growing, and moving forward step by step. Example: English verb tense. Here is a small example to show how these steps work. Imagine you often say, yesterday I go to school, instead of, yesterday I went to school. Notice, I said go instead of went. Ask why. I forgot the past tense. Write it down. I used go instead of went. I forgot the past tense. Small plan. Tomorrow, I will remember to use went when talking about yesterday. Practice. Each day, try using past tense in 1 sentence. Gradually, it will become a habit. See how a small mistake, if noticed and practiced, can turn into learning and progress. This is how you stop repeating mistakes and start growing. Mistakes are normal, and everyone makes them. What matters is what you do after mistake. You can learn and grow from it. For example, if you keep making the same mistake in English, like saying, yesterday I go to school instead of yesterday I went to school, there is a simple way to fix it. First, notice the mistake. Pay attention and say, I see my mistake. Next, ask why it happened. Maybe you didn't review the past tense verbs. Writing it down can help. Say, I write down my mistake and the reason. Then, make a small plan to change. For example, tomorrow I will study 5 past tense verbs. Finally, practice slowly. Say correct sentences out loud every day. Yesterday I went to school. Yesterday I ate breakfast early. Yesterday we watched a movie. This process works not just for English but for other habits too. It can help with confidence, time management, behavior, and emotions. Now it's your turn. Think about 1 mistake you want to stop repeating. Say it out loud. Ask yourself why it happens. Write it down. Make a small plan. Most importantly, practice every day. Remember, you are not behind. You are learning. Every time you choose to grow, you are winning. Review is important. Reviewing your notes or vocabulary does not mean you are slow. It means you are smart. It is like building a strong house. You need strong walls before adding new floors. Even 5 minutes of review each day can make a big difference. Read old notes, repeat last week's words, or practice sentences you already learned. This keeps knowledge alive in your mind. Another mistake many learners make is comparing themselves to others. You may see someone speaking English better and think, I will never be like them. But comparison only makes you feel small. Everyone learns at their own speed. Your journey is unique. Say it with me. I don't compare myself. I focus on my own progress. Even learning 1 new word, saying 1 clear sentence, or taking 1 small step forward is progress. Don't let comparisons steal your motivation. Finally, many learners give up too soon. They study hard for a week or a month, then stop because they do not see fast results. Learning a language is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Consistency is more important than speed. Small, daily steps are better than big efforts followed by giving up. Even tiny improvements, repeated every day, lead to big results over time. So, to stop repeating mistakes, remember these ideas. Notice your mistakes. Ask why they happen. Write them down. Make a small plan. Practice slowly, every day. Review regularly. Focus on your own progress, not others. Keep trying even when results are slow. Step by step, you will improve. Step by step, your confidence, skills, and habits will grow. You can change. You can grow. You can become better every day. Let's repeat together. I will not give up. I will keep going, step by step. Many English learners make common mistakes. They speak too little, fear grammar errors, study without practicing, skip review, compare themselves to others, or give up too soon. If you avoid these mistakes, your English will improve every day.
Take a moment now.
Which of these mistakes do you often repeat? Say it out loud. Then tell yourself, I can change this because I can. Mistakes are not just about learning English. They happen in life too. Many people repeat the same mistakes over and over without noticing. These mistakes turn into habits. They make life harder, and we often wonder, why do I keep ending up in the same situation? One common mistake is not listening to yourself. Deep inside, you often know what is right and what is wrong. You feel signals like stress, tension, excitement, or discomfort. For example, your stomach might feel tight when you say yes to something you don't want to do. Or you may feel unhappy every Sunday night because you don't like your job. Instead of listening, many people ignore these feelings. They do what others expect or what feels easy instead of what feels true. When this happens, the same problems repeat. Wrong jobs, wrong relationships, wrong choices. Repeat after me. I will listen to myself. My feelings are important. Another common mistake is avoiding difficult conversations. We often stay quiet when we want to speak. We say it's fine, even when it's not fine. We try to keep peace on the outside, but inside we feel angry, frustrated, or sad. Silence doesn't solve problems. It usually makes them bigger. One day, the feelings come out suddenly, often in a way that hurts us or others. The better way is to speak calmly and clearly. Say what you feel, even a little at a time. This helps solve problems before they grow. Another mistake people repeat is letting fear control their choices. Fear makes us stay in the same place. We avoid trying new things, speaking up, or making changes. Fear tells us it's safer to stay quiet or do nothing. But staying in fear stops growth. The more we act despite fear, the stronger and more confident we become. Repeat after me. I can act even when I am afraid. I grow step by step. A fourth repeated mistake is not taking small actions. People think big changes must happen all at once. When they can't, they give up. But small steps lead to real change. For example, speaking one sentence in English today or finishing one small task is enough to start. Step by step, these small actions add up. Repeat. Small steps bring big changes. Finally, many people repeat mistakes because they ignore reflection. We don't pause to think about what went wrong or why. Without reflection, we keep repeating the same problems. Writing down mistakes, thinking about why they happened, and planning small changes can stop the cycle. Repeat. I reflect, I learn, I change. Life and learning are similar. Mistakes are not failures. They are signals showing where we can improve. By listening to yourself, speaking up, facing fear, taking small steps, and reflecting, you can break old habits. You can grow in English, in your relationships, in your work, and in your life. Every step counts. Every small change matters.